this is Heather from HeatherBCo. I want to go ahead and pre-plan for next week. Next week will be the 4th, October 4th, I believe. Let me go ahead and move everything out of the way and show you the kit and everything, and then we'll go ahead and get started into the plan with me. Okay, so here's the kit that I'm going to be using. This is a printable from Paper Crown Planner. I don't remember the name of the actual kit, so I'm sorry about that, but it is from Paper Crown Planner on Etsy. She's one of my favorite printable shops. I buy a lot of her printable kits. They print and cut really easy on the silhouette, so I like her designs and everything. She uses all the popular clip art, so I tend to go back to her shop time and time again. So here are your full boxes. You've got some little boxes down here, some more full boxes, some deco, some little like post-it note boxes. Here's all your glitter headers, a check box Monday through Sunday, and a checklist right here. You've got all your littles and some boxes, some more decorative boxes, and your bottom washi and date covers. So this is the kit that I'm going to be using this week, and I'm going to do something a little different. Normally I just talk about the actual stickers the whole time. I think this time I'm going to try to talk through, you know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I am a breast cancer survivor, so I thought that I would go ahead and tell you my story about finding my breast cancer, you know, and going through the treatment and everything, because that is actually what brought me to the planning community. When I was first diagnosed, and I'll get into this real quick right now, but I'm gonna tell you the story throughout the plan with me. When I was first diagnosed, you know, I was in my oncologist office and practically having a meltdown, and she told me, you know, get an organizer, get a calendar, get something that I can keep track of all of my appointments and everything that I was going to be going through, because there would be a lot that I would need to keep track of. So I went to Office Depot, and they actually had like a breast cancer, I guess it was like a day timer planner. I don't even remember. I didn't use it for very long. So anyway, I went and got that planner, and if I remember right, it was fairly expensive. So I started writing down all my, you know, appointments and everything, and when I would go through chemo, I would have to take certain medicines like so many days before my treatment, and then the day of my treatment, I didn't take those medications because I had chemo, and then like so many days after, I had to take certain other medications and, you know, blood work and scans and whatever. So I started writing that down, and then I realized very quickly that, number one, I didn't like that planner. So I started searching, you know, just Googling, and came across Erin Condren, which I know, you know, Erin Condren is kind of in some hot water with a lot of planners right now, and I do not use the Erin Condren anymore, but this is the story of how I got started. So anyway, I did some Googling and found Erin Condren. So I ordered an Erin Condren planner, and then again, I started realizing that I was writing the same thing over and over again. So I think I went maybe on Etsy. I don't remember if I Googled it or went on Etsy. I was hoping to find some stickers that said like doctor's appointment or something like that. And yeah, I saw everything that was happening on Etsy, and then I started looking on Instagram, and I started doing some searching on Facebook and so on and so forth. So, and that led me to where I'm at today. So I thought it would be a little bit different if, instead of just talking about the stickers the whole time, that I would just kind of tell you my story. And you know, if nothing more comes out of me telling my story than for one of you to go and get a mammogram or do a self-breast exam, then I'm happy. I just want everyone to take care of their bodies and I found the lump. And so, you know, early detection, I mean, that's what it's all about. Had I not found that lump, my cancer was aggressive. Had I not found that lump, I don't know that I would be here today. You know, I was stage 2, but I was very close to stage 3 because of the size of the tumor. So it's very important to do your mammograms. It's very important to know what your breast tissue feels like. It's very important to even go and get blood work done once a year. You know, they can tell a lot by just having your blood work done. So again, if nothing more comes out of this video than one person going and taking care of their body, then my work here is done. So let's go ahead and get started. Usually I kind of edit out all of the stuff, putting everything down, but I think I'm going to go ahead and keep it in this week, and I'm just going to talk and tell you my story. You know, there was a long time that I couldn't talk about this story because it was just painful. It was just very painful for me. It was the hardest thing I ever had to go through. I think it was the hardest thing my family ever had to go through. And so it's taken me a long time to be able to talk, you know, to talk about it without crying about it. And even now, sometimes, you know, it still kind of hits me every now and then that, oh my God, this is what I went through, you know? So anyway, let's go ahead and get started I'm going to start putting everything down. Like I said, I'm not really going to talk about the stickers. I'm just going to try to tell my story as I'm doing it. I hope it works out okay. There may be a lot of editing in this video. We'll see. I feel like I've already done a lot of talking and I haven't done anything planning-wise yet. So I feel like, yeah, we're 8 minutes into the video and I haven't even started putting a sticker down yet. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I guess we can go ahead and start with, you know, I turned 40 in January of 2015. And I had gone to see my gynecologist on the year before, you know, my annual appointment, which was like in, I don't know, July or August. And she was like, look, I know you turn 40 in January. You know, we recommend that you get mammograms done when you turn 40. So before you see me next year, go ahead and get a mammogram done. She did the orders and everything. So I was like, oh yeah, well, I'll do that. Well, you know, I put it off. You hear horror stories about mammograms, how painful they are and how they smash you and, you know, whatever. So I put it off. My husband come home one day and said, Dana, who is a coworker's wife, who I actually went to high school with her, but we've been friends with them for years. He said, Dana was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I said, oh my gosh, is she okay? And he says, yeah, I think she's okay, but, you know, they're really worried and whatever. So honestly, as horrible as it sounds, it's just, he told me, I felt for her, and then I just kind of moved on. I didn't really think about it much. So, I don't know, a couple of days later, I was bathing, and I used one of those little poof, you know, little shower, you put the shower gel on it, the little poof things to wash, and as I was washing my body, I was coming down the side of my breast, and the little thing fell out of my hand, like I just dropped it. So as I was going down the side of my breast, and I dropped the little poof, my hand went across the side, like the side of my breast. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that? And let me preface this by saying in 2012, I had a breast augmentation surgery. So I had already had breast implants. So when I felt the lump, I was like, man, what is that? And I'm thinking, oh my God, something is wrong with my implant. So I had my husband feel it, and he was like, oh yeah, that doesn't feel right. So the next day I had my mom feel it. Let me grab a exactly. So the next day I had my mom feel it, and she was like, oh my gosh, yes, you definitely need to go have that checked out. And I said, well, I have my orders to go get my mammogram done. So I just need to call and schedule that. So I called the place. Actually, I didn't call the place. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. I kind of was in denial for several days. Like I kept feeling it. I kept touching it, but in my head, it's something is wrong with my implant. So my husband comes home and he says, hey, I talked to Russell about Dana, and she's starting chemo soon. I said, oh, really? Now, I've never had a family member go through chemo or anything like that. So I didn't even, it didn't register to me, I guess. So once again, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for her. And then I moved on. It was just nothing to me. So he says, did you call and schedule your mammogram? And I'm like, no, I didn't call and schedule it yet. I got busy. You know how that goes. So the next day, again, I was showering and I felt it. And I'm like, okay, I definitely need to have this checked out because something just doesn't feel right. So I called and told them I had orders for my mammogram. I had just turned 40 a couple of months before, and they were like, well, since you feel a lump, you actually need to have more than just a diagnostic mammogram. So you need to call your doctor back and get different orders. So I'm like, well, okay. And again, I'm all new to this. I've never had a mammogram before. So I call my doctor's office, tell them what's happening, and so they send over the correct orders to the breast center. So they call me back, they get me scheduled for a mammogram. And it took maybe 4 or 5 days to get in for the mammogram. So I go in, and once again, I'm just there nonchalant, and I'm talking to the tech that is giving me, that is actually doing the mammogram, and these greens don't really match, but whatever. I'm talking to the tech, and it was just 2 of us in there. We're both just kind of joking around a little bit, and I don't know, as she's doing the scans, it changed. The mood in the room changed a little bit, and I got a little concerned, and I thought, there's no habit trackers in here. Hang on just a second. Hold that thought. Okay, so like I said, I just felt like the mood kind of shift a little bit, and I got a little concerned. So because I had felt something, and because I had breast implants, they had decided to go ahead and do a ultrasound as well on my breast. And so my breasts are very dense in addition to having implants. So they went ahead and did the ultrasound. Well, as I'm in the room for the ultrasound, things got very serious, very quick to me. And after I had told the doctor, after everything, he was like, we kind of train them to not, try not to give out vibes or anything. But I definitely felt a vibe that something was not right. So the ultrasound, when I tell you the ultrasound, they took hundreds of pictures. And I didn't know this until after the fact, but they ended up taking like over 500 pictures during the ultrasound. And I didn't know the number or anything, but I just knew that it had taken a long time. So, you know, you can't have your phone on you and everything. So when I finally get to put my clothes back on, like now I'm kind of freaked out a little bit, right? So when I go to put my clothes on, you know, I picked up my phone and I had a bunch of text messages from my husband. Hey, how did it go? And this and that. Because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to be in and out. I'll call y'all when I'm done. And I was in there for quite some time. So when I got out of there, I went to my car and I told him, I said, man, I feel like there's something wrong. So I'm on my way home, and as I'm on my way home, they call me and tell me that they see a spot of suspicion and that they want to do a biopsy. So I'm like, holy shit. Like, I knew that something was not right. So I called my husband in a panic, and I'm like, something's wrong. They want to do a biopsy. So they scheduled my biopsy. So I did like the mammogram. It was like on a Wednesday. Well, they scheduled the biopsy for like the following, like Thursday or Friday. So my husband's like, look, you know, they didn't schedule it. It's not an emergency or anything. So just positive thoughts, you know, try to be positive. So that's where, you know, it's in my mind, but I'm worried. So I'm on the phone with him. I'm on the phone with my mom. I'm on the phone with a couple of friends, you know, the whole way home. And when I get home, I noticed there was a voicemail on my phone. So I called back. It was the breast center. I called back and they were like, we have rescheduled your biopsy. Instead of being on like Friday, we're going to do it on Tuesday. So now I'm totally freaking out. Something's wrong. So I call my husband in a panic again. And I'm like, there's something bad. So it was a rough weekend. I mean, I'm not even going to lie. It was a rough weekend because I just felt like, you know, that's all I thought about all weekend. Well, we decided not to tell my mom or my daughters. I have 2 daughters. We decided not to tell anyone until we knew what we were dealing with, because I knew that there were going to be a lot of questions that I didn't have answers for. And so I wanted to wait until I had answers for everything, because I didn't know how to answer those questions, you know? So Tuesday comes. I mean, when I tell you it was a rough weekend, Tuesday comes and I go in for my mammogram. My husband comes with me and they do the biopsy, and they're like, you know, we'll let you know. It takes 24 hours. We'll let you know. So they scheduled me for an appointment for the following day. And didn't tell anybody. Again, you know, went home and just kind of, you know, prayed or whatever. You know, but I felt in my soul, I felt that there was something, definitely something there. So we, next day I go in for the results for my biopsy, and it seemed like, man, it just seemed like we were there forever. And they finally called me to the back, and I remember he sat there and he says, well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but it's cancer. we don't know what to say. We just absolutely do not know what to say. And so we're like, okay, so what does that mean? You know, and he's like, well, I mean, you're going to have to go through chemo. And, you know, he's given us all this information and, you know, speaking in medical terms that, I mean, we know what they mean now, but at the time it was just like, we don't know what any of this means. And we have a Alaskan cruise in 6 weeks that we've been planning for over a year. You know, can I still go on my cruise? And they're like, no, you can't go on your cruise. You're going to be in treatment. And I'm like, to process what he's telling us is just like, how do you process this? You know, and okay, sorry, I had to take a break. Okay, sorry, got upset. So we come home and I had to tell my girls. Okay, sorry about that. So tell the family, tell my girls. And what do you do, you know? So the following week I had a ton of appointments. Like I had to get an MRI done. I had to just get a shit ton of stuff, test, and just all kinds of stuff. So I go have all these tests done and everything, and I mean it is like a whirlwind of doctor's appointments. A whirlwind, I tell you. So my husband's coming to all these appointments with me. He's super busy at work. He's having to leave work to come to these appointments with me. And, you know, they're just starting to prep me for treatment. And after I spoke to my oncologist and my surgeon, they decided that they want to go ahead and get me into chemo first and shrink the tumor. So that was the plan. That was the game plan, was to go ahead and do that. So I had surgery to go ahead and put a Metaport in, and I did that. I did all my other tests and everything, and like I went from biopsy to being in my first chemo in less than 2 weeks. You know, and so my life just came to a screeching halt. I mean, a screeching halt. Like it was just, this is what we're going to be doing, and this is it. So, I start going through chemo, and I would have chemo on Wednesday. And at first I had chemo like I went every 2 weeks. So I'd have chemo on Wednesday. Well, let me tell you about my hair. So before I would start, like I went through different phases of treatment. So I would have to go through like an education type thing with one of the nurses to kind of know what to expect and this and that. So the first one, they're like, you know, you are going to lose your hair, but some people, it just gets thin. They don't like lose it. So start chemo, and the following week was Father's Day. So I had actually cut my hair. They had told me to cut my hair short because my hair was long. So they had told me to cut my hair short. I did that. Well, on Father's Day, we took my dad out to eat for breakfast. And I was trying to fix my hair, and I had a couple of spots that I couldn't cover. And so my husband came up behind me in the bathroom, and he was like, Heather, I can kind of see your scalp on the back. You can't cover that one. So I'm like, okay, I'll just go ahead and start wrapping my head with a scarf. So I do that. We go to breakfast and everything. Well, when I come home, I take the scarf off because it's hot. It's, July or June. And I take the scarf off. And when I did, there was hair flying everywhere. And I'm like, I can't handle this. Like, I cannot handle this. So I started crying, and I told my husband, I said, it's just falling out, and I can't handle it. So he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I just want to shave my head. So that's what we did. We sat outside and we shaved my head. And, it's a tough thing, and no doubt, but it was such a sense of relief to have be done with it. I mean, it was just a relief. So, as hard as it was a relief. So I go through, I start going through chemo. I'm going every 2 weeks. I have no hair anywhere on my body. Like, when I tell you I lost everything, I lost all the hair on my body. I did have a couple of eyelashes, and look, you best believe when I went to chemo, I put mascara on those 2 little lashes that I had still left. Every time I went, if I was going somewhere, those lashes had mascara on them. Even though I only had 2 or 3, they were still dressed up and pretty. Anyway, so I went through chemo. I went through 6 months of chemo. And after my first round of chemo, I don't remember all the medicines, the names of them, but my second round of chemo was called the Red Devil. And it's everything that it sounds like it is. I mean, it was, and this is probably going to be TMI, but when they started the injection, when they started the infusion, in the infusion lab, you're tied to a IV pole. So I'd have to drag my IV pole to the bathroom, and within 20 minutes of getting the Red Devil, I was already peeing red. Like, it looked like I was peeing Kool-Aid. So, yeah, it was everything that the name says that it is. So, I went through the Red Devil, and the way that chemo works is the longer you're on it, the more progressively it affects you. So, by the time I was close to the end of chemo, I was so weak from everything that I remember my husband having to spoon feed me. They would go and get smoothies and get like the highest calorie smoothies that they could get, because I would have chemo on Wednesday and I would sleep until the following Tuesday. Like, I would sleep for almost a whole entire week. And so towards the end, it was very, very difficult. I couldn't hardly walk a whole lot. My husband, my husband and my kids just kind of did everything for me. And I'm so thankful that I had such a great support system, within my family, because I know a lot of people don't have that. But I did. And I wouldn't be here without them, So I finished going through chemo. And then it's time for surgery. So we elected to have a lumpectomy rather than going through a full-on mastectomy. And there's a couple different reasons why. Not that I owe anybody an explanation, but I will. So a myth about breast cancer is just because you get a mastectomy, you'll never get breast cancer again, and that's not true. I actually have a friend that had a mastectomy and had breast cancer a second time. So the stats are kind of the same, but also my insurance, because I only had cancer in one breast, my insurance would only cover removing the one, and they didn't want to cover any reconstruction. And I'm 40 years old, and as vain as it sounds, you know, I wanted my breast. I wanted to have my breast. I wanted to feel like a woman, and I wanted to feel, you know, feminine, and you know, and there's a lot that can go into this, but it was just something that was difficult for me. So we opted to go ahead and have a lumpectomy instead of the mastectomy. So I had my surgery, which my surgery went well, and I actually recovered pretty quickly from my surgery. Then we had, I'm sorry, I'm trying to pick which box I want to use. Then it was time for radiation. So radiation, I breezed through radiation. I'm not even gonna lie. I kicked radiation's ass. So radiation, the first time you go for radiation, they lay you on a table and they put like this pillow. It's like, it kind of feels like a beanbag. And so what they do is they position you where they want you on this beanbag pillow, and whenever they get you where they want you, they suck all the air out of it. So when they suck all the air out, it like it kind of forms around you. So you use this pillow every time you go into radiation. So I went through 6 weeks of radiation, and radiation was Monday through Friday, every day, for 6 weeks. So I would go to radiation every day, and you know, the worst thing about radiation is the burns. It can severely burn you. Well, I am into oils and things like that. Oh crap. Here we go. So I was using oil, so my burns were not bad. My doctors were actually amazed at how good my burns looked. So I breezed through that, and then because I was HER2 positive, which means the cancer was actually feeding off of the hormones in my body, I had to continue to do some infusions. And they called it chemo, but I didn't lose my hair. You know, it wasn't as strong as some of the others. It was just kind of catching up on some that I needed to do because of the situation with the proteins in my body. So I was still kind of going to the infusion lab and everything. And then, so I breezed through radiation. So I've had chemo, I've had surgery, I've had radiation. So they're still checking my blood all the time, and you know, I'm doing blood work regularly, I think every 2 months, every 2 weeks I was still doing blood work at this point. And so I'm done, right? You think, I mean, I feel like I'm done. So I go to a doctor's appointment with my oncologist, and she calls me and says, hey, something's kind of funky with your blood work. I'm going to send you for a CT scan. I just want to double check everything. I want to make sure everything's good to go. We don't have anything that is working against us, whatever. So I'm like, sure, you know, and like, she's like really, really thorough. And at the time, I was annoyed with it. But anyway, so I go and have the CT scan done. And my husband and I had planned a trip, like a little getaway, kind of for our anniversary. We had to cancel our big vacation to Alaska. So it was kind of a anniversary trip, celebration. I had finished my chemo. And my doctor calls me. I mean, it's like the Thursday. We're leaving like on the Friday. And she calls me and she says, hey, something showed up on your CT scan. And I've consulted with another doctor. And we are 99% sure that it's kidney cancer. What? Yeah. So I'm like, and I'm driving. And I told her, I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to pull over. Just hang on a second. So I pull over into a parking lot. And I'm like, can you repeat this, please? And she says, Heather, I'm so sorry, but we are 99% sure you have kidney cancer. What do you say to that? So, call my husband, having a meltdown, and where do you go from here? So, the oncologist refers me to a urologist, and their office calls me, and I get an appointment with them, and sure enough, he's like, yep, we're like 99.9% sure it is kidney cancer. You are going to have surgery to remove your kidney. No chemo, because kidney cancer is, they just remove your kidney. So I'm like, okay. Well, I had a Disney trip planned with my daughter. And so I'm like, here I go again. The first time was Alaska. Now I'm going to Disney with my daughter. What do I do? And he's like, look, it's the size of a dime right now. And he says, a week is not going to kill you. Go to Disney, have fun, come back, and we'll take care of it when you get back. So I'm like, all right. I mean, I never said this, but, it always falls on your head, or falls in your head that, is this it? Is this going to be the one that takes me out? I mean, I don't know what else to say. So I go to Disney. I come back. The next day, I have surgery on my kidney. And they removed 5% of my kidney. It was a small spot, but it was in a very odd area. So it took them a little while to get it. But they did get it. So I beat breast cancer, and then I had to beat kidney cancer, like right out of finishing my breast cancer treatment. I mean, I'm freaking in treatment, and I'm having to start another treatment for another freaking cancer. So it just sucked. Oh, shit. And it, all of this when I'm 40, and one of my doctors is like, it's like you hit 40 and everything just went to shit. And that's exactly how I felt. I'm like, what is going on? What the hell is going on? So, long story short, because I know this has probably been long, and I don't even know if anybody's still here listening to it, but so I had 2 primary cancer scares, not scares, like legit, I had cancer. And nobody in my family has cancer of any kind or has had cancer of any kind. So when they did my genetic testing, she's like, we don't know why you're here. What are you doing here? And I'm like, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea why I'm here. None whatsoever. So when I tell you it can happen to anyone, it can happen to anyone. You know, I'm a little overweight. Well, I'm a lot overweight right now. Thank you to the quarantine. But, you know, I was a little overweight, but I don't drink. Maybe once a month I'll have a drink. I don't smoke. I exercised. I was doing like everything that I felt I needed to do, you know, to live a healthy lifestyle. And why is this happening to me? And my oncologist, I had a meltdown in her office. When I tell you I would have meltdowns, and these were meltdowns of all meltdowns. I mean, like sobbing on the floor, crying, you name it. I did it. And so I'm having a meltdown one day in my oncologist's office. And she told me, she says, you know, you have to look at why things happen. Because I kept saying, why is this happening to me again? I've done everything you've told me to do. Why is this happening to me again? And she told me, she says, the breast cancer saved your life. If I hadn't had breast cancer, then I would have never had to have these scans done and the blood work done to find the kidney cancer. And most of the time, kidney cancer, by the time they find it, it's too late. And so that was the silver lining for the breast cancer, I guess. But she told me the breast cancer saved your life. And so I try to remember that. And especially at that time when I was going through everything, I tried to keep that in mind, but it's hard. You know, it's just really hard. So, I'm sorry. So, you need to take care of yourself. You need to do your mammograms. You need to check your breast and your breast tissue. So this was something that I didn't know. So let me educate you on this. Your breast tissue is, it feels different during different times of the month. When you're on your period, your breasts feel different, right? You know, so your breast tissue is going to feel a little bit different. So you just need to be familiar with what your breasts feel like, you know, and don't hesitate going get a mammogram. Because look, let me tell you, I've heard all the horror stories, and I've had several mammograms since, and they're not that bad. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but I mean, it lasts that long. It's not what people make it out to be, really. you know, you got to do your mammograms. You got to do your self breast exams. You got to know your body. You have to know what it's telling you, you know, and you have to listen to it. And don't hesitate. You know, if you feel like something is not right, then definitely have it checked out. You know, every doctor that I go to now does a breast exam on me, and they're like, you know, I'm sure you've had a lot of breast exams, and I'm sorry, we got to keep doing this. And I'm like, do all the breast exams you want. I mean, I feel like I walk into a doctor's office and I'm really ready to rip my shirt off because, hey, do a breast exam, because if there's anything there, I want somebody to find it. So anyway, that is my story, my cancer story. And I mean, I did leave out some things that I prefer to keep, you know, private. But, and I didn't mean to get upset at all. But I'm very, I feel very lucky to still be here. And my friend Dana, who was diagnosed a couple weeks before me, she's still here too. And her and I went through everything together. So it was really, really nice to have someone that, she was 2 weeks ahead of me on everything. But it was really nice to have someone to go ahead and call when, you know, those deep, dark thoughts enter your mind, and to see if she's feeling the same way I was. So anyway, she's doing well. She's got some other medical issues happening right now, but she's still here, and her and I still talk, and her and I have a bond that I have with no one else. I mean, unless you go through it, it's hard to tell. You know, it's just hard to understand. And so the last thing I'm going to say is, you know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I appreciate it. I really do. But just know that for survivors, and not just breast cancer, for anything, you know, it's not just 1 month. It's every day. Every day is cancer awareness for me, because every day I think about cancer. Every single day I think about cancer. Okay, so that's my cancer story. If you have watched to the end, I appreciate it. Please go get mammograms. Please check your breast. Get blood work done. And I'm going to fill this in a little bit more, but I will show you the wiggle. I do have some things that I wanted to add, but this was the first time I did like just a talk through without talking about the stickers, so it was a little hard for me to kind of concentrate on what I was doing, especially when I was kind of getting a little upset talking about some of these bad memories. So anyway, I appreciate you watching. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching my channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.